Maryland lands another big transfer.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, video content creator for 247 Sports and InsideMarylandSports.com, and host of Locked On Terps for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you for making us part of your day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big advantage when you are playing Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Maryland lands another impactful transfer yesterday in Selton Miguel. He is a transfer from UCF, and Kevin Willard pulls another one off the board. And I think he is an awesome fit for the Maryland Terrapins. A lot of you guys might not know Miguel and what kind of he brings as a player, so I hope to tell you why. And I really do like the fit. I think he fits in perfectly. I think he's another puzzle piece that we have kind of connected with, that we already kind of got going on. We got a little puzzle going on, and I think the pieces are coming in quite nicely. Of course, you don't really know exactly how they fit and how well everything goes until the season starts, but so far, it's looking like the puzzle is going to be put together pretty well, and it looks like the puzzle has a potential to be a really cool looking puzzle, just the way that we've recruited in the portal, the way we have put things together. But Miguel is a 6'4" guard kind of wing from UCF, and he's a pretty big time player at UCF, earned second team All AAC, which is definitely a really good reward for him. Definitely one of the better players in that conference. So getting a guy like that has performed at a high level at UCF and the AAC is definitely a plus. He also actually originally started his career at Kansas State, something I didn't realize until I did a little bit of research. Some of you guys might know that, but his first 2 seasons he did spend at Kansas State, so he has played some Power 5 basketball. He averaged 7 points per game at Kansas State his first 2 years, so he's definitely like no slouch of a player at Kansas State. Probably just wanted a bigger role at UCF, and that is what he has done now at UCF the last couple of years. He's been a pretty big-time player at UCF, and I gotta say this. I've been saying it the whole season, but Kevin Willard is cooking. I don't know what he's making. I don't know if it's steak. I don't know if it's a nice pasta. I don't know if it's a nice crab. I don't know exactly what Kevin Willard is cooking, but I know he's cooking something up that looks pretty appetizing going into next season. The way that he's been able to use the portal and get all these different players to really change this roster. I honestly said, and during the season, I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know how much you guys were there, but I said this might be a really hard rebuild for this Maryland team. And I said it will only get worse from here, because where the roster was and how it kind of looked like things were going to transition, I was like, we're done for the next couple of years. We're not going to be very good. We don't have a great future. The freshman class doesn't look as good as I thought it was going to be. But now Kevin Willard has absolutely made it so that we could go from being maybe one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, not maybe, definitely one of the worst teams in the Big Ten, to potentially, I don't think it's crazy to say, the best team in the Big Ten. I actually believe that. I actually think we are going to be able to do that. And it's really because of the guys that we have. Adding a guy like Miguel to this team, I think really helps this Maryland team. I think Selton's a perfect fit. And kind of what his game is for you guys that don't know, he's a big 3-point shooter. He's a big time shooter, and I'm pretty sure he describes himself as a kind of a 3-and-D guy, but this guy's probably going to come in and be the best shooter potentially on the team. I think Rodney Rice is a great shooter. I think Jacoby Gillespie is also a great shooter, but this guy, that's what he does. Like, this guy shoots the ball, and he's elite at it. He shoots it at a really high percentage. He shot the ball 39% last year from the 3-point arc. And he does, and he takes plenty of threes. So that's a pretty good percentage to shoot. I was watching some of his highlights that people put together on YouTube. Make sure you guys go check that out so you guys can kind of understand as well as what I'm talking about. Is he will pull up, he will take some contested shots, and I don't have a problem with it because he makes it. And I think it's exactly what Maryland needs. I've talked about it all offseason. Shooting. We needed shooting last year, and we didn't have it at all. And we needed a guy that can make shots. At the end of the day, in basketball, you got to hit the shots. And the teams that shoot a really high percentage from three are usually pretty good in today's game, and we couldn't figure that out. And I promise you, if we would have shot the ball better last year, you could have looked at us as, I mean, I'm not saying we would have been a great team, but we would have been a lot better than what we were. I'd say we'd be a pretty solid team for sure if we didn't shoot below 30% a lot of games from the 3-point arc, and we had guys that could shoot. But that was a big problem on last year's Maryland team. Even the guys that were supposed to be good shooters like Kaiser and Batchelor, who are both gone now, didn't really ever get it going. I don't think we'll have that problem with Selton. I think he's going to come in and be a good shooter like he's been. He's been maybe the best shooter in the AAC the last couple of years. So I think he's going to continue that. I don't think we're going to have a problem with him coming in and being like, we think bro can shoot, but it's like he actually gets here and it's like he's not the best shooter that we've seen. Like, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think a little bit of that happened with Kaiser. I think we thought he was going to come in and be an elite shooter. And I do think Kaiser has the potential to be a good shooter. And I think he was a good shooter in high school. That was his biggest thing. But I just think he just couldn't get it going all year in terms of shooting the ball. We saw it in flashes, but now I'm looking at him as he's kind of similar to Kaiser in some ways where he might not do as much off the bounce, but he's just going to be a way more effective option, I think. And I think he's older. He only has 1 year of eligibility, which I'm not going to say stinks, but it is nice that Rodney Rice and Gillespie still have 3 years, but he only has 1 year of eligibility. But that's okay, I think. I don't think we're going to get everyone that comes in wasn't going to have 3 more years of eligibility. And so I think he has a chance to come in and kind of play that role. And another reason I absolutely love him and think he's perfect fit is because he came off the bench last year. He came off the bench, and you wouldn't believe that when looking at his numbers. He averaged 14.7 points per game. He can clearly score, like I said, 39% from three. But he came off the bench and won AAC Sixth Man of the Year. So this is the interesting part about him. And the reason I love that is because I'm looking at all these guys that we've brought in, and I'm saying someone's not going to start. We only can start 5 guys. Someone's going to have to come off the bench. So I'm looking at Miguel, and I'm like, he was a 6th man last year, did it happily. Maybe he can play that role this year for us, come off the bench and just shoot the lights out and play maybe starter minutes, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't know exactly who the next 2 transfers are that we still have, but I'm looking at him and saying, so we have Jacoby Gillespie probably at the point for sure. And then do you start Rodney Rice and Deshaun Harris-Smith, or do you start Miguel? Like, I don't know exactly how you kind of incorporate that. But I do think that if he comes off the bench, I think he'll do that happily, because he's been doing that the last couple of years, and he's found rhythm doing it. It seems like he's a guy that likes to come off the bench. Like I said, AAC Sixth Man of the Year, averaging 14.7 points per game. So I think that's a pretty cool guy to have off your bench. If you need a spark, if you need shooting, I think that'll help a ton. And then I also think that he's a guy that really helps Reese and Derek Queen down low, because if you think about it, it was clogged up last year because teams didn't have to respect us from the outside. Teams didn't have to respect our shooting. Teams didn't respect Deshaun Harris-Smith. Jamie Kaiser got plenty of shots, couldn't make them. Jameer Young was a decent 3-point shooter, but Noah Batchelor didn't shoot the ball at a high level. Like, our guards weren't very good outside shooters, so teams could really clog the paint and make it really hard on Julian Reese. And now our strength lies in the front court, and I'm saying, like, the fact that we have a guy like this who's going to be on the outside the arc, a guy you cannot leave open, or there's a pretty good chance he's going to knock it down, makes it a lot easier on those two guys, Derek Queen and Julian Reese, to absolutely dominate the competition. And I think that's why I love how this roster is being constructed. I think Gillespie can do the same thing, and Rodney Rice can do that as well. And I hope that Deshaun Harris-Smith improves the shot so he can shoot better next year. And if he does that, we look really scary. But I do really think that's a big reason why. I think having Miguel, no one should be happier than Queen and Julian Reese, because that's where a team wants to run through. And if teams want to double Derek Queen, and they might have to, because Derek Queen, they've been saying he's got this Jokic kind of game to him where it's methodical. He doesn't look like he's the most athletic guy in the room, but if on post-ups and when he gets the ball down low, he's going to score the ball a lot. And same with Julian Reese, of course. And so it might be nice it is going to be nice having guys that can really space the floor. I think we're going to be a much better spaced team than we were last year. And I think teams are really going to have to respect us. And it's going to change how teams have to play us. And I think bringing in Miguel really helps with that overall. But I think he's a great fit with this Maryland basketball team. I think he fits in right. And I think I really like this guy. And I forgot to mention one last thing. He is Bruno Fernando's cousin, apparently. I was actually watching Fernando play last night with the Hawks. They did get eliminated in the play-in game. I'm not sure how much you guys pay attention to that stuff in the NBA, but I'm sure some of you guys know. Bruno Fernando definitely has a role in the NBA, but he had apparently a pretty big role in getting Selton to commit here. Apparently they're cousins, and he really was like, Maryland's the place to go. And I'm happy we have Bruno Fernando. That's why it's good to have those type of guys on your side, guys that have been in the program and have pride in the program, because you don't know who they can affect later on. You don't know what they can do. Maybe they can donate for NIL. It's a good look for the program, but that's why it's important to have guys in the NBA playing at a high level. And he really pushed for Selton to go to Maryland, and I think that helps a lot. But I think it's a really good fit. I think he provides three-point shooting. I think he provides defense, and he's going to really space the floor for Derek Queen and Julian Reese. And I really like him as a player, and he seems like a good man. And so I'm excited for what he brings, and I'm excited to see what he can do with Maryland basketball. Joe Lunardi talked about his bracketology. Where does he have Maryland in his way too early March Madness potential seedings? I will tell you about that after this ad from Yahoo. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all of your investments and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and have access to the expert analysis you need to tend your entire portfolio with confidence. Let's go straight to the point. You want to grow your portfolio to deal with the rising costs of inflation, to pay off your debt or your mortgage. Yahoo Finance is great for that. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or looking at the extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. Make sure you guys go check that out. So I found this interesting, and we're doing a lot of basketball talk. I think we're really high on the basketball right now, but Joe Lunardi released his way too early bracketology. First off, I want to start by saying I have no idea how these guys do this. Know every team well enough and what they're doing in the offseason to say this is my way too early bracketology, even though you really have no idea what's going to happen. It's a pretty cool job, but that's challenging. And I give credit for him to putting that together. And I know that's his job, but like a way too early March Madness bracket already, it's like, how do you even put that together? There's still a ton of stuff that has to go on in the portal and recruiting and like all this different stuff that still has to happen, coaching changes. There's so many things that have to happen, guys leaving and whatever. But I do want to talk about it because I think it's fun. I think it's a fun topic. I think everyone likes March Madness, whether it just ended or just started, I think it's a great thing to talk about. And it's always the goal to make March every single year. That's the goal for your program, and I guess a national championship. And he is Maryland right now projected as an 8 seed. I do think this was before we got Selton Miguel, so I think it could change a little bit. But I got to say this. Joe Lunardi definitely knows what he's talking about and everything, but I'm going to disagree. This Maryland team, I think right now, I'd probably have them projected as like a 4 or 5 seed. I think they have the potential to be a top 5 seed in the tournament. I don't know if this is a crazy take. I really don't think it's a crazy take. If you look at the roster that we put together, and it's really just like, are the pieces going to fit? And I think they do. I think Kevin Willard learned his lesson from last year. I think he knows that you can't rely on freshmen in today's game anymore, and it's about using the portal well and bringing in a couple really highly ranked players like a Derek Queen and Malachi Palmer that can come in and impact your program. But you don't want to bring in 5 freshmen that, okay, maybe they're all 4 stars, but that's not how you win in today's college basketball. So he really learned bringing guys that we are sure are going to be really good players, and I really do think that the sky really is the limit for this Terps basketball team next year. Once we got into the Maryland basketball season, after I realized that this team has major holes and things that were wrong with them, it was hard to get excited about the team, and it was hard to watch a lot of the games. But I am super pumped up to watch what this team can potentially accomplish. And I think an 8 seed, I mean, if you told me right now we'd be an 8 seed in the tournament next year, I'd be like, I don't know. I think we can be a lot higher. Would I take it? Would I be like, I'll take that just being in March? I don't know, because I think we could even be like legitimately think that we could be a 2-3 seed. Like, I think that we could win the Big Ten next year, depending on what we do with these last couple of moves. I don't think people realize how good this team is and how well balanced. Like right now, I don't see a weakness in the team. I don't know where you point and say that needs to get better. I don't see a spot you can nitpick it and be like maybe depth and the big man, or maybe another small forwardish guy, maybe. But we still have 2 spots open. I don't really see a gap in this team. And I see no reason why with the experience that we have with guys like Julian Reese, and then also the explosiveness with a guy like Jacoby Gillespie, and a guy like Rodney Rice at the guard position that's ready to prove everyone wrong that Virginia Tech messed up. I think it's like, and with the youth of Derek Queen and what he brings as a talent, I don't see a weakness on this team. And then it's like, okay, the starting lineup looks pretty awesome. And let me add in one thing. If Deshaun Harris-Smith improves, that's going to be a big thing. If Deshaun Harris-Smith is about the same, lacks shooting, but gets it done sometimes, but is really inconsistent, then what? We're probably like a 6-5 seed. If he improves like I think he can, become a really good player like I think he has the potential to be, I see no reason why we can't be the top 4 seed in the tournament. Give me a reason why. I mean, maybe some people might say Kevin Willard will hold us back. I don't know, but I don't see a place where it's like this team shouldn't be really good. If you remember, if you compare this team to the team 2 years ago, not last year, but 2 years ago, the one that Kevin Willard led to the tournament, I think we're much better. And that was a team that was a 9 seed, and I think we're a lot better. A lot of it really depends on how well Gillespie adjusts, and can Julian Reese really be the best returning big in the Big Ten, and is the front court really as good as we think? But we have depth in spots too. It's like Jahari Long right now. People forget that guy is such a solid player, and he's going to be a depth piece for us. I love that for the Terps. And then also Jordan Geronimo coming off the bench. I love Jordan Geronimo coming off the bench. Just think this team, if you can't tell, I'm excited about this team, and I love talking about it, and I really do think the sky is legitimately a limit. If you told me right now, next year Maryland's a 1 seed and a top 4 team in the country, call me crazy, but I don't think it would be a crazy and ridiculous take to say. I really think this team has a chance. Hopefully they don't disappoint us. But I also think we have improved in basically every single area. I want to talk about that next. I'm going to continue talking about Maryland basketball. I'll talk about the improvements that Maryland basketball has made in almost every single spot after this ad from Monopoly Go. I've been told I'm a competitive person too. I bet you are as well. Okay, well, yeah, I have competitive side to me. My competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring your big money. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can turn your team with friends and people all around the world in timed tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in on the app and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now and it's free on the App Store or Google Play. Maryland basketball has legitimately improved in every single spot this year. You don't usually go through an offseason and say, we got better there, we got better there, we got better there, we got better there. Usually there's some type of regression in a spot. And the one thing you could say, but I'm going to make an argument against it. The one thing you could say is we lost Jameer Young. He was first team all Big Ten. He's one of the better players in the Big Ten. You could potentially say that. And that's a perfectly fair argument because on a player-to-player basis, we don't have maybe one player like Jameer Young. But I don't think that wins. And I think we saw that last year. Having one great player at the guard spot doesn't win. But the combination of guards that we have now, I think, is so much better than what we had last year. And we don't have to rely on just Jameer Young at the guard spot. I think Jacoby Gillespie is elite. I really think he is going to be one of the better guards in the Big Ten. I think Rodney Rice is really good as well. You guys are going to see. You guys don't know how good Rodney Rice is. That kid is going to be a really good player. And we just added Selton Miguel. He's also really good. And Jahari Long as well back there. And you get Chance Stevens back. And even if Chance Stevens isn't good, if he's not very good, he's just not going to be in the rotation. But if he's a good player and has a chance to impact the game, so he could also help and improve this roster. And I think there's no way you can say you don't rather have those couple guys in year two, Deshaun Harris-Smith, than having what we did last year with Jameer Young, Deshaun Harris-Smith, and Jahari Long, and I guess Kaiser, maybe you argue as a guard. I can't say that has not improved. And then if you go down to kind of the big man slot, I think it's a lot better. We bring in a consensus 5-star kid who is not one of those guys that it's like, this guy's really just a freak athlete. Like, that's the reason he dominates. Because some guys you're going to look at and be like, how well will this guy's games translate? Yeah, he's a 5-star, but he's just kind of running and dunking. I think James Harden said that about Giannis one time. And obviously Giannis is one of the best players in the world. But it's like his game, their Queen's game, is meant for college. It is meant for him to be like, I don't know how translatable he is to the NBA, but he has a college basketball game where he's smooth, not overly athletic, but can just make shots down low, can pass the ball. He definitely has a college basketball type of game. And him at the 4 is much improved from Jordan Geronimo at the 4. I'm sorry. I like Jordan Geronimo as a player, but Jordan Geronimo is coming off the bench. So literally now I'm looking at a guy in Derek Queen that's a 5-star and is in the 4, and the guy that started last year is going to come off the bench. I really like that for Maryland basketball. I think that's a huge improvement. And then Julian Reese down low, he only can get better, right? Without the bigs like Zach Edey in the Big Ten and some of the other guys that are going to be gone that had to graduate or leave for the draft. I think you look at Julian Reese and say, senior year Julian Reese is probably better than junior year Julian Reese, who didn't have his best games all the time. So I'm looking at the roster and I'm saying I like it a lot better. I think we have much better shooting ability. I think it's not even close. I think that the shooting ability is a lot better. We have a guy that might come off the bench in Selton Miguel that just won AAC 6th Man of the Year. That's going to be able to shoot the lights out. And this isn't including the the 2 guys that we still have to add. It'll be interesting to see the next player we get. Is this guy going to be an impact guy or more of a project guy? Because I wouldn't be surprised if one of these spots is used on a more project guy, because I don't see a lot of more minutes in Maryland's rotation right now. We could be one of those teams that's really deep and plays a lot of guys, but right now I just don't see a lot of minutes going around. But that's all we have for today. I think Maryland basketball, I'm excited. I think we're in an awesome spot. We'll talk more about football in the coming week, but after their scrimmage. But that's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.